So I'm going to come at this concept of high-quality content from a Canadian perspective. So a lot of the ground I'm covering will seem very familiar for the Canadians in the audience and slightly perplexing perhaps for the others. So as Michelle said, drama is kind of the holy grail of high-value Canadian content. The narrative, I guess, or the story in, if I could sum it up, for English language television in Canada is we do a pretty good job with news and sports and lifestyle programming and reality, and we just haven't quite solved the drama problem. We haven't got good English language drama in Canada. And there is a sort of a huge amount of concern about this. The late Charles Dolphin, during his time as the chair of the commission, really defined drama as his number one priority to solve. When BCE acquired CTV in the Canadian regulatory system, you have to make a number of tangible benefits. They put their tangible benefits in large measure in creating Canadian drama. And at the hearing where they described their vision, it was really very much like an R&D project. We're going to throw some money at this thing and see if we can solve the problem of Canadian drama. So there's been a lot of interest in Canada on how to do this. And I would say a general view that we're not there yet. And we have certain regulatory instruments that are there, as Michelle mentioned. We have priority programming, so 8 hours a week for each network between 7 and 11 at night have to be devoted to certain kinds of programming, one of which is drama. The Canada Media Fund, about $300 million. A little bit more than half of that goes to fund drama. 150% time credit, so you have to have 60% Canadian content, but drama counts, an hour of drama counts as an hour and a half. So we have these regulatory instruments that I think most Canadian people in our sector would say haven't by themselves done the trick. And so why are we so concerned about drama? What is it about drama that we single it out? The general story in Canada goes something like this. Telling Canadian stories is an important cultural objective. We don't want our kids to sound like Americans, talk like Americans. We want to have shared Canadian stories and ideas. Drama is programming that Canadians really like to watch. Drama is expensive to produce. And high-quality U.S. drama is available at a very reasonable cost for Canadians, so this makes it wildly profitable. So I am not here to challenge any of those four propositions. In fact, I agree with those four propositions. And they are kind of the nature of the problem that we are confronted with. What I'm going to suggest is that after decades, really, of wrestling with this problem and fretting about it, being anxious about it, and trying to solve it, should we say there is no magic solution out there? We've had so many great minds working on it. Is there something structurally too hard about this? And we should stop worrying about it. We should stop beating ourselves up about it. That's the thesis that I want to advance today. But I really want to advance that for English language drama. French language drama in Canada is a different proposition because, obviously, the language issue. People in Quebec love their French language dramas. They love their programming, and they for a small population, they turn out huge audiences for this programming. And that drives a virtuous circle that we heard Pierre Carl talk about yesterday, where there is a star system and there is there are all the other parts of the virtuous circle that work, though that virtuous circle doesn't really happen in English language drama. And let me explore a few of the numbers that are behind that. So I'm going to go through a kind of a case study to see if it throws some light on it. It is admittedly a data point of 1, but I think it might be illustrative of the proposition that I'm trying to make. So I'm going to talk about Murdoch Mysteries because it's a show that is on City TV, which is owned by Rogers. It's a very popular show. It gets good audiences, about 300,000. It's won some critical acclaim. It's co-produced with Britain. My wife really loves this show. It's I not much for mysteries myself, but I'm telling you, she's crazy about this show. She discovered it in season 2 and started watching it devotedly. And I mentioned this to one of my friends at City. He gave me the box set of season 1, and she was pretty pleased. I was a hero that day for bringing that home. It's a story about a police detective that solves mysteries in Toronto in the late 19th century. So what do the numbers look like? Costs about $1,100,000 per episode for a 1-hour show. That's pretty economical. It's not easy to make good television for those kind of numbers. So a 13-episode series, about $14.5 million. The international sales and British sales, about $2.5 million, about $12 million. $3 million of that is subsidized by the Canada Media Fund, $5 million from tax credits. That leads to a cost to us of $4 million. I'm going to suggest, happy to have contrary views from the room, but I think that's not an untypical scenario. The ad revenues from several airings over the first season are about $500,000. So you can see right away that without the subsidy, this is an appalling business case just looked at on economic terms. Even with the subsidy, that is going to take a lot of platforms and a lot of long-tail sales before you ever get your costs back. Now, you contrast that with typical Canadian content, and maybe if I made a sort of a generalization, I would say that if you look at the numbers, Canadian content for the most part in television covers its incremental costs. The cost of the programming is covered by the revenue. The economics of Canadian television are such that it's generally the American programming that covers its incremental cost and then makes a substantial margin that then pays for the fixed and common cost of the operation. But here we have a type of Canadian content which does not even come close to covering its incremental costs. So what does that tell us? Well, your sort of automatic reaction is, yeah, that's the problem. That's what we're trying to solve. That's why we need these subsidies. That's why we need these funds. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe we just all have to roll our sleeves up and work harder. I'm suggesting today it seems like that subsidy is too big. It seems like despite those big subsidies, we do not have an achievable victory in Canadian drama. It's always going to need a big subsidy. We're not talking about an infant industry program.